The corridor outside Commander Elias Marr's quarters was quiet, the kind of quiet that only existed on deep space stations where every sound was filtered, softened, and controlled. Elias had just finished reviewing reports that made little sense and somehow all the sense in the universe. First contact was no longer theory, it was paperwork. It was stress-wrapped in polite language.
He keyed his door open, already thinking about sleep.
That was when he stopped. Someone was standing in his doorway. She leaned against the frame as if it belonged to her. One arm resting above her head, posture relaxed, eyes bright with intelligence and something like amusement. She wore nothing. No uniform, no armor, no visible technology, not even a symbol of rank. Just skin that shimmered faintly. Not human, but close enough to be unsettling in how carefully it mirrored human shape. She smiled. "Well," she said, "say something." Elias did not shout. He did not step back. His hand did not reach for the emergency panel 3 inches from his fingers. He simply stood there and looked at her. The station's artificial gravity hummed quietly beneath them. Somewhere far away, a door closed. Life went on. The woman, alien, envoy, unknown, tilted her head slightly. Her eyes tracked every tiny movement in his face, every breath, every blink. She was watching for something. Shock, maybe. Anger. Fear. Embarrassment. Elias gave her none of it. "You're blocking my doorway," he said calmly. For the first time, her grin slipped. "Just a little." "Interesting," she replied. That wasn't in the predictions. Elias stepped forward, not aggressively, just enough to reclaim space. "Who are you, and how did you bypass station security?" She straightened, uncurling from the doorway with smooth, deliberate motion. Even standing fully upright, she made no effort to cover herself. Instead, she gestured vaguely at her own body, as if it were a tool rather than something personal. "This is not considered exposure among my people," she said. "We find concealment inefficient." Elias nodded once, as if she had commented on the weather. "It is considered unusual here." "Uncomfortable?" "No," he said after a moment. "Unexpected." Her eyes narrowed with interest. "I am Envoy Scifi," she said. "I represent the coalition beyond your charts. We decided formal entrances were limiting." Elias finally pressed the door control fully open and stepped aside. "Then come in." Standing in hallways invites attention. She studied him again, longer this time, then laughed softly and crossed the threshold. The door slid shut behind them. Inside, Elias's quarters were simple. A bed, a desk, a viewport showing distant stars, no personal items on display. Scifi's gaze moved across the room, absorbing details quickly. "You are not flustered," she said. "Should I be?" "Most species are," she replied. "We arrive unguarded. We remove visual defenses. We disrupt expectations. And that usually works?" "Yes." Elias folded his arms loosely. "Humans live with disruption. We just call it daily life." That earned him a long look. Not mocking this time. "Curious." Scifi walked to the viewport, staring out at the stars. "Your kind survived on a chaotic world," she said. "Predators, weather, internal conflict." "We did," Elias agreed. "And yet you did not destroy yourselves." "Not for lack of trying," he said dryly. She turned back toward him. "You use humor to soften stress." "We use it to survive," he corrected. There was a pause. Something shifted in the air. Not danger, but recalculation. Elias recognized it. He'd seen it in negotiations when the other side realized their leverage wasn't what they thought. "You were meant to react differently," Scifi admitted. "Disappointed?" "Impressed," she said honestly. She finally glanced down at herself, then at him. "Would you like me to adopt your customs?" "That depends," Elias said. "Is this a test?" Her grin returned, slower now. "Everything is." He nodded. "Then no. Continue as you are. I'd rather see the real version." Scifi exhaled, something like relief flickering across her features. "Most species demand control immediately. Control is overrated," Elias said. "Understanding lasts longer." She studied him again, then nodded once. "Your reputation may be incomplete." "Good," he replied. "So is yours." Silence settled between them. Not awkward, not tense. Just space. Scifi broke it first. "My people believed humans would be easy to unbalance, emotion-driven, reactive." "We are emotional," Elias said. We just learned when not to show it. That restraint is rare. It's learned, he said simply. Pain teaches fast. Her eyes softened at that, and Elias wondered what kind of history she carried behind that grin. You didn't say something when I asked, she said lightly. I did, he replied. Just not what you expected. Scifi laughed again, genuine this time. I look forward to the rest of this conversation, Commander Mar. As do I, Elias said. Outside the viewport, the stars continued to burn, unaware that something quiet and important had just begun. The station felt different after that first meeting, though nothing visible had changed. Lights still glowed softly along the corridors. The hum of power systems remained steady. Crew members went about their duties with practiced focus. Yet something unseen had shifted, like a current moving beneath still water. Commander Elias Marr noticed it first in the pauses. People hesitated before speaking. Conversations ended a second earlier than usual. Reports came in with careful wording, as if everyone sensed they were being watched by more than just their own command structure. Scifi moved through the station without escort. That alone made many nervous. She wore no clothing still, though now she carried a small device at her wrist that shimmered faintly. It projected a soft distortion around her form, not hiding anything, but reducing sharp detail. Elias suspected it was a compromise, her idea of meeting humans halfway. She walked beside him through the main observation corridor, her steps light, almost soundless. You allow me much freedom, she said. Your superiors did not object? They objected, Elias replied. Then they listened. That is unusual. They trust process, he said, even when it scares them. Scifi glanced at him. You scare them? Frequently. She smiled. They stopped near the viewport where the curve of Earth was visible far below, blue and calm. Scifi stared at it for a long time. Your homeworld is loud, she said. Elias raised an eyebrow. You can hear it from here? In patterns, she answered. Radio noise. Your kind broadcasts itself constantly, and yet you came anyway. Yes, she said, because loud does not mean weak. That was the closest thing to respect Elias had heard from her so far. Behind them, a group of crew members passed. They tried not to stare. Some failed. Scifi noticed, of course. She always noticed. You do not hide curiosity well, she said. We don't try, Elias replied. Curiosity built everything you see around you. She looked back at the station walls. Then curiosity may save you. That sentence stayed with him longer than he liked. Later, in a controlled meeting room, Scifi faced a small group of human representatives. Scientists, diplomats, one security officer, standing relaxed but alert. No weapons visible. That had been Elias's suggestion. Fear invites fear, he had told them. Scifi sat, not because she needed to, but because humans did. The chair adjusted automatically, responding to her weight and shape. She seemed amused by that.
You expected invasion?
She said plainly. One of the diplomats cleared her throat. We prepared for many possibilities. But not this one, Scifi said. No, the diplomat admitted. Scifi leaned back slightly. My people expand without force. We arrive. We observe. We test cultural limits. Species that fracture under mild pressure are not ready for broader contact. And species that don't? Elias asked. They are given choice. The room grew very quiet. What kind of choice? The scientist asked. Scifi's eyes moved to him. Participation. Isolation sounds peaceful, the security officer said carefully. For a time, Scifi replied, until the universe grows smaller. Elias leaned forward. You tested us with discomfort. Yes, and we passed? Scifi tilted her head. You surprised us. That was not a yes. Not yet. She activated her wrist device. Light spread across the table, forming shapes, star systems, trade routes, species profiles. Humanity appeared small in comparison, a bright point near the edge. You are not powerful by our measurements, Scifi said. Your technology is developing. Your unity is imperfect. But, she continued, you show restraint under pressure, humor in uncertainty, empathy without surrender. The diplomat frowned. You see that from one meeting? Scifi smiled. From thousands of micro-responses. She dismissed the display. We have met species far stronger than you. They collapsed under pride. Others begged for protection and lost themselves. And humans? Elias asked. Selaith looked at him directly. Humans pause. That was it. That was the difference. After the meeting, Elias stood alone near the viewport again. Earth rotated slowly below. He thought of history, of mistakes, of wars and recoveries and lessons learned the hard way. Selaith joined him without a sound. You worry, she said. I plan, he replied. She nodded. That is also unusual. Everything about us is unusual, Elias said. You'll get used to it. Perhaps, she said, or perhaps you will change us. He looked at her then. Does that frighten you? She considered the question longer than she had any other. Yes, she said finally. A little. That honesty mattered. Over the next days, Salathi observed more. She watched human crews solve problems together. She listened to arguments that ended in compromise instead of dominance. She saw laughter after failure, not punishment. She watched Elias closely. You carry responsibility differently, she said once. You do not pretend certainty. Certainty gets people killed, he replied. Yet you still lead. Leadership isn't knowing everything, he said. It's deciding anyway. That answer followed her into silence. On the 5th day, Selaith requested a private conversation. No audience. No devices. Just them. She stood in Elias's doorway again, posture relaxed, expression softer than before. Well? She said lightly. Say something. Elias smiled this time. You came back, he said. Yes, she replied, because the test isn't over. Outside, beyond metal walls and fragile treaties, the universe waited, curious now instead of hungry. And humanity, without realizing it, had begun teaching it how to wait back. The private meeting room was small, almost plain. No screens, no recording lights. Just a table, 2 chairs, and the soft hum of the station around them. Elias had chosen the room on purpose. It made conversations honest. There was nowhere to hide behind words when the walls listened too closely. Selaith stood near the table, her posture relaxed but alert. She looked less like an envoy now and more like a thinker, someone weighing choices that could not be undone. You understand, she said slowly, that my presence here is being reviewed in real time. By your people. And by yours, she replied. Yes. She watched him closely. You are not nervous. I am, he said. I just don't let it drive. That answer earned him a thoughtful look. My people believe emotions are tools, Salatha said, something to be used or removed, depending on efficiency. And humans? Elias asked. We believe emotions are information, he said. Ignore them and you miss the warning signs. She considered that. That explains much. She took the chair across from him, the table adjusted again as if learning her shape. She noticed this time and smiled faintly. You adapt quickly, she said. We have to, Elias replied. The universe doesn't wait. Salatha folded her hands together. There is something you should know. The test you believe is happening is only one layer.
Elias did not interrupt. There are others watching, she continued.
Species that do not announce themselves. They look for instability, for weakness disguised as strength. And what do they see when they look at us? Elias asked. Salatha's eyes shifted just slightly. They are uncertain. That's good, he said. Is it? She asked. Uncertainty can lead to caution, or preemptive action. Elias leaned back. That's always been true. Salathi studied him. You speak as if you've already accepted that danger is normal. We grew up with it, he said. That's not bravery. It's familiarity. She was quiet for a moment. Some of my people believe humans are pretending, that this calm is an act. Let them believe that, Elias said. It keeps them guessing. That made her laugh, short and surprised. Over the next hours they spoke without ceremony, about human history, carefully simplified. About Salathi's coalition, described in broad strokes. They avoided numbers and power comparisons. Those came later. Right now they were learning how each other thought. You let disagreement exist openly, Salatha said at one point. Your people argue in public, yes. And yet you function because argument isn't the same as division, Elias replied. It's how we test ideas. My people consider disagreement inefficient. Then you never find your weak points until it's too late, he said. She didn't argue that. When the meeting ended, Salathe did not leave immediately. She walked to the viewport and stood quietly, watching stars drift past. You are afraid, Elias said gently. She did not deny it. My role was simple at first. Observe. Disrupt. Measure response. And now? Now, she said, I must report that humans do not respond correctly. That sounds bad. For the models, she said, yes. She turned toward him. You are not dominant. Not submissive. Not chaotic enough to dismiss. You occupy a middle space. We like that space, Elias said. It leaves room to move. Selaith nodded slowly. That is what unsettles them. In the days that followed, subtle pressure began to appear. Supply ships were delayed without explanation. Communication windows narrowed. Automated probes lingered longer near Earth's orbit. Nothing hostile. Nothing clear. Just enough to make patterns. Elias noticed. So did Selaith. They're probing reaction thresholds, she said quietly as they watched data streams together. And we don't react, Elias said. Not the way expected. That's intentional. Selaith studied him. You are teaching restraint to a universe that expects fear. Fear makes bad decisions, he said. We've made enough of those. One evening, as artificial night settled over the station, Selethak requested access to human archives, not military. Cultural, stories, music, records of loss and recovery. Elias approved it. She spent hours absorbing fragments of humanity's past. Not the victories, but the failures. The times they broke and the times they rebuilt anyway. This, she said finally, is not strength as we define it. No, Elias agreed, it's survival. She looked at him with something close to awe. You carry your scars openly, because hiding them doesn't make them go away, he said. That night, Salathi sent her report. It was longer than protocol allowed. It contained uncertainty. It contained warning. It contained one clear statement that would echo far beyond the station. Humans should not be rushed. The response did not come immediately. When it did, Selaith was called back, summoned, not requested. She stood in Elias's doorway one last time before leaving. They are uneasy, she said. That means they're thinking, Elias replied. They may decide thinking is too dangerous. He met her gaze. Then we'll keep showing them otherwise. She hesitated. You are aware that by doing so you place yourselves in focus. Elias smiled faintly. We've always been there. We just didn't know who was watching. Salathe stepped closer, lowering her voice. If this goes poorly, your species will be remembered. That's better than being ignored, he said. For a long moment neither spoke. Then Salathe nodded. You have changed the trajectory. Good, Elias replied. It needed changing. She left without another word. As her vessel departed the station, Elias stood alone by the viewport, watching its light fade into distance. Humanity had not raised a weapon, had not issued a threat. It had done something far more dangerous. It had refused to play the expected role. And, somewhere in the dark between stars, the universe was learning that humans were not a problem to solve, but a variable to respect. Time stretched after Selathi left. Not in a dramatic way. There were no alarms, no sudden orders, no visible threats. That was what made it harder. The waiting settled into the station like dust, quiet and unavoidable. Elias returned to routine, or something close to it. Reports still arrived. Crew still worked. Earth still turned below them. But every action now carried weight. Every decision felt watched. He knew Salathi's message had landed badly with her people. Uncertainty frightened systems built on control. He also knew humanity had crossed the line without meaning to. They had been honest. That was not always forgiven. 3 days after Salathe's departure, the first formal signal arrived. It did not come from the coalition directly. It came from somewhere else. The signal was clean, polite, and carefully neutral. It requested a shared communication channel, limited scope, no recorded data exchange. Elias read it twice before forwarding it upward. This isn't her people, one analyst said quietly. No, Elias agreed. It's someone who was listening. Permission came quickly, faster than usual. That alone said enough. The channel opened. There was no image at first, only a voice, layered and calm, translated smoothly. We acknowledge your presence, human representatives. Elias stood in the center of the room, hands relaxed at his sides. Acknowledged, he replied. You have altered a long-standing pattern. We didn't intend to, Elias said. Intent is secondary, the voice replied. Outcome matters. A shape appeared then, abstract and shifting, not meant to resemble anything human. It was not threatening. It was not welcoming either. It simply existed. "You were tested," the voice said. "You did not fail." "That sounds encouraging," Elias replied carefully. "It is incomplete," the entity said. "Some of us believe you are an anomaly that will resolve itself." "And others?" Elias asked. "Others believe anomalies reshape systems." Elias nodded once. "History supports that." There was a pause. Elias could almost feel the calculations happening. "You did not seek advantage," the entity said. "You did not submit. You did not escalate." "Those aren't the only options," Elias replied. "For most," the entity said, "they are." Silence followed. "Considering you carry internal disagreement openly," the entity continued, "yet you maintain cohesion." "It's not easy," Elias said, "but it's real. You allow weakness to be visible. Yes, that should invite exploitation." "It sometimes does," Elias admitted. "We deal with it." The shape shifted slightly. "You are inefficient." Elias smiled faintly. "We know." Another pause. "Efficiency is not the same as resilience," the entity said at last. "That's what we've been trying to tell ourselves for centuries," Elias replied. The channel closed without warning. No threats, no promises, just attention. That night, Elias slept poorly, not because he feared attack, but because he understood something fundamental had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in its uncertainty. Others now shared it. Saleha returned 2 days later.
Not announced, not hidden.
Her vessel docked openly, and she walked onto the station as if she had never left.
She wore the same faint distortion field, her posture calm, but her eyes held something new. Resolve. "They listened," she said to Elias as soon as they were alone. "I know," he replied. "You spoke to them," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," she exhaled slowly. "Then this has moved beyond my authority." "Was it ever within it?" Elias asked gently. She smiled, tired but honest.
No.
They walked together through the station. Crew members noticed Saleha again, but this time the tension felt different. Less fear, more curiosity. "You changed their expectations," Saleha said. "Not just of you, of themselves." "That tends to upset people," Elias replied. "My people are divided," she said. "Some want distance. Some want structure. Some want control." "And you?" he asked. She stopped walking and looked at him directly. "I want time." "That's rare," Elias said. "Time allows complexity. My people avoid complexity." "Then they miss a lot," Elias said. Saleha nodded. "They do." Later, a joint discussion was arranged. Not a negotiation. Not yet. A conversation with boundaries. Saleha spoke for her coalition. Elias spoke for humanity. The others listened. "You are not being evaluated for dominance," Saleha said openly. "You are being evaluated for impact." Elias accepted that. "Then judge us by what we do next." "And what will you do?" someone asked. "We'll keep being human," Elias replied. "It's the only thing we know how to do well." That answer caused quiet reactions across channels. "You refuse acceleration," one voice noted. "Yes," Elias said. "Rushing creates mistakes." "You refuse submission?" "Yes." "You refuse conquest?" "Yes." "Then what do you offer?" the voice asked. Elias did not answer immediately. He looked at Saleha, at the stars beyond the viewport, at the long history behind him. "We offer continuity," he said. "We stay, we adapt, we remember." Silence followed. "That is not a resource," the voice said. "No," Elias agreed. "It's a responsibility." The discussion ended without conclusion. But something important happened. No one disengaged first. In the days that followed, the pressure eased. Supply routes normalized. Probes withdrew slightly. Observation continued, but without urgency. Saleha remained on the station. "You are becoming a reference point," she said one evening. "That sounds heavy," Elias replied. "It is," she said. "Others will measure themselves against how you responded." "Good or bad?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Both." He thought of Earth, loud and fragile and alive. He thought of how small they were, and how stubborn. "We don't know what we're doing," he said quietly. Saleha stood beside him. "Neither does the universe." That night, for the first time since first contact, Elias felt something close to calm. Humanity had not won, but it had not lost itself either, and in the vast space between certainty and chaos, that might be enough. The moment did not arrive with drama. There was no announcement across the station, no sudden gathering of leaders, no signal that declared history was being written. Instead, it came quietly, wrapped in routine, almost easy to miss. Elias noticed it during a regular briefing. The data streams were stable. The background noise that had followed them for weeks, the subtle delays, the extra monitoring, the pressure that never spoke its name, was gone. Not reduced. Gone. He dismissed the briefing early and stood alone for a long time, looking at the numbers then out through the viewport at the distant curve of Earth. They had been seen, and they had been left alone. Salitha arrived an hour later. Not with urgency, not with ceremony. She walked into his quarters like before, leaned lightly against the doorway, posture relaxed, expression thoughtful. "Well," she said, her familiar grin softer now. "Say something." Elias smiled. "They stopped pushing," he said. "Yes," Salitha replied. "They did." She stepped inside and stood near the viewport beside him. For a while, neither spoke. Words felt unnecessary. This was not a victory to announce. It was an understanding to accept. "My people argued for cycles," Salitha said eventually. "Time frames, conditions, measures of return." "And?" Elias asked. "And they realized something uncomfortable," she said. "The longer they watched you, the harder it became to define an endpoint. That's humanity," Elias said. "We don't end cleanly." She nodded. "You complicate forecasts." "We call that living," he replied. "The decision was not formal. That is important. Meaning, no ruling, no classification."
No containment. Elias exhaled slowly.
"So what are we?" She met his eyes. "You are present." That word carried more weight than any alliance. In the days that followed, subtle changes spread outward. Communication lanes reopened without restriction. Independent observers withdrew. Others stayed, but openly now, without pressure or disguise. Humanity was no longer being tested. It was being considered. Salath prepared to leave again, this time not as an envoy, but as a connector, someone who would speak of humans not as a subject, but as a reference. Before she departed, she asked Elias one final question. "If they return one day," she said, "with demands instead of curiosity, will you stand the same way?" Elias did not answer quickly. "No," he said at last. "We'll stand how the moment requires." She smiled. That is the answer they feared most. Her ship departed without spectacle, disappearing into the dark like a thought released. Life on the station returned to something like normal. Crew members laughed louder again. Conversations grew careless. Humanity, it seemed, had gone back to being human the moment the pressure lifted. Elias watched that with quiet pride. They had not needed to be told it was over. They simply lived. Weeks later, a message arrived. Not a demand. Not a treaty. An invitation. A shared forum. Open agenda. No hierarchy. No binding outcome. Elias forwarded it to Earth and added a single note. "We're not being summoned. We're being asked." On the day the response was sent, Elias stood by the viewport one last time before handing over command. Earth rotated below, still loud, still fragile, still unfinished. Humanity had not impressed the universe by force. It had done something stranger. It had remained itself under observation. And that, it turned out, was rare enough to change everything.